Imagine for a moment that the biggest royal scandal in recent years didn't originate from an official announcement by the palace, but instead from a fleeting murmur that raced across the digital landscape far quicker than any factual verification could hope to follow. Pause and reflect on this idea. It wasn't backed by any authoritative declaration, no supporting paperwork, not even an identifiable informant. It was merely an assertion, a piece of gossip, a sensational title blaring breaking news from just moments earlier. In an instant, the online world reacted in its typical fashion whenever feelings overpower facts. It descended into chaos and frenzy. Whenever Prince Harry's name surfaces in discussions, matters rarely remain straightforward. And when the topic involves his children, sentiments intensify dramatically, rational thinking diminishes, inquiries proliferate, and long before anyone pauses to inquire whether the information is authentic, countless individuals are already pondering a much riskier possibility. Suppose it actually is true. This narrative isn't centered on verified paternity tests or established truths. It isn't proclaiming undeniable realities. Rather, it's an examination of how an unverified rumor, fueled by strong emotions and boosted by social media algorithms, gained such immense traction that it convinced vast numbers of people they were witnessing a prominent figure's personal life unraveling live before their eyes. More crucially, it explores why the mechanics of this rumor's dissemination hold greater significance than the rumor itself. At this very instant, numerous individuals sincerely hold the conviction that Prince Harry has recently uncovered a profoundly upsetting secret regarding his family. Their belief stems from encountering it presented as urgent, developing news. It aligns perfectly with preconceived stories they've long embraced. Furthermore, the digital ecosystem prioritizes immediate indignation over careful deliberation. It thrives on outrage rather than restraint. Consider this personal query. How recently have you encountered a rapidly spreading headline about the royals and actually halted to wonder who stands to gain from your acceptance of it as gospel? This inquiry forms the core of the whole episode. The precise timing raises eyebrows on its own. Prince Harry stands as one of the most intensely scrutinized psychological profiles among contemporary celebrities. He exists in a perpetual limbo, torn between the advantages of his upbringing and the sufferings it inflicted, between obligations to the monarchy and his quest for individual freedom, between the lineage he inherited and the independent existence he sought to forge. Virtually every phase of his adulthood has unfolded beneath relentless public observation. The tragic loss of his mother, his designation as the spare heir, his choice to step back from senior royal duties, his wedding, his candid discussions in media, his published memoir, his ongoing legal battles. Each of these milestones has been overlaid with layers of critique, presumption, and infinite analysis. Consequently, when a highly inflammatory allegation emerges, one that strikes at the fundamentals of personal identity, familial bonds, and parental roles, it doesn't arrive in an impartial environment. It falls upon highly combustible terrain, where even a tiny ember of doubt can spark a wildfire without requiring substantial evidence. Raw sentiment suffices to set it ablaze. The harsh reality that many prefer to ignore is that tales of this nature explode in popularity not due to their precision or reliability, but because they resonate as plausible. Once that sense of plausibility takes hold, conviction reinforces itself in a cyclical manner. Examine the specific presentation of this rumor. It avoids cautious phrasing like according to sources or alleged reports or mere internet conjecture. Instead, it employs terms evoking immediacy, conclusiveness, and profound distress. Above all, it implies concealment and exclusivity as the allure of uncovering a forbidden secret, a concealed fact, an unauthorized disclosure, a private crisis, draws crowds like nothing else. This stylistic choice is intentional and highly effective. In mere minutes, responses inundate platforms. Some express empathy, others cruelty, a few attempt objectivity, but many jump straight to full acceptance. Online discussions transform into impromptu trials, with unrelated individuals assuming judicial roles. Prince Harry, yet again, diminishes from a flesh-and-blood human into an emblematic figure, representing treachery, disgrace, or the vindication of long-held suspicions like, "I suspected as much all along." Yet, let's decelerate the pace here. Prior to delving into the specifics of the allegation, a more vital inquiry demands attention. Why was the global audience so predisposed to accept it without question? To grasp this, we must delve into the current emotional landscape enveloping Harry. He has dedicated his lifetime to wrestling with questions of selfhood, not solely his image in the public eye, but his intrinsic sense of who he is. What defines me absent the royal title? Apart from the monarchical structure? Without its safeguards and constraints, he has candidly discussed sensations of disorientation, difficulties in finding meaning, challenges to the traditions that shaped him, and the lasting psychological toll of unending examination. Complications arise because public admissions of weakness don't invariably elicit kindness. Occasionally, they provoke the opposite: intensified pressure, probing of limits, attempts to see how much strain the exposed fragility can endure before fracturing. Thus, an insinuation that even his paternal role, the one aspect of identity he appears to treasure most deeply, is jeopardized lands with extraordinary force, surpassing the impact of any mere political intrigue. This transcends status or wealth. It concerns a profound sense of acceptance and connection, the very element Harry has pursued throughout his existence. Reflect personally. If your existing views portray Harry as psychologically delicate, his path as turbulent, his choices as hasty, doesn't this gossip seamlessly integrate into that picture? This illustrates the mechanics of false information. It doesn't invent entirely novel concepts. It piggybacks on established perceptions, rendering the tale seem recognizable and foreseeable. However, recognizability does not equate to substantiation. Sentiment alone isn't validation. Nevertheless, in the virtual realm, such nuances evaporate rapidly. Conjecture evolves rapidly. Individuals scrutinize archived images, previous conversations, subtle facial cues, vocal inflections, physical gestures. Innocent grins turn dubious. Private intervals suggest concealment. At this juncture, the episode transitions from simple hearsay to theatrical display. Truth becomes secondary to spectator responses, which serve as valuable commodities online. Greater shock value yields more interactions. Heightened emotional packaging prolongs viewer retention. Increased polarization accelerates dissemination. This leads to a troubling insight. Even wholly fabricated accounts can inflict genuine harm, damaging reputations, straining bonds, impairing psychological well-being, eroding societal confidence, and turning innocent youngsters into unwitting victims in an invisible contest. Why this particular moment? Why not earlier, amid his departure from royal responsibilities, or upon his book's publication, or at prior heights of debate? Timing proves pivotal. Currently, weariness with royal dramas abounds, faith in establishments wanes, platforms amplify radical content, and viewers crave the subsequent dramatic twist. Harry's early definition as spare, seemingly benign, yet implying contingent worth tied to his brother, embedded deeply. Life events contrasted, heir's duty versus spare's liberty, discipline versus revolt, clear path versus uncertainty. His appealing, wild persona invited forgiveness, but also filled informational gaps with worst-case assumptions, betrayal themes, from his institutional exit, amplified deception assumptions, extending to all areas, prompting reappraisals of history. This collision of fresh gossip with enduring uncertainties darkens the tale, highlighting how unhealed doubts amplify plausibility, allowing rumors to thrive on emotional vulnerabilities accumulated over decades.